All right, so we're diving into this whole Big Lots situation. We've got a CBS News article here listing 56 stores closing, plus a press release straight from Big Lots. So much to dig into. I feel like there's got to be some bigger trends at play here, right? Like with the whole retail scene
Definitely,
here.
yeah. I mean, just on the surface, you've got this national discount retailer, and they're in deep water. Chapter 11 bankruptcy, no joke. But zoom out a little,
Yeah.
and honestly, Big Lots troubles, they might be a sign of things to come for other retailers.
Okay, so let's zero in on these store closures. 56 stores, 27 states. That's going to impact a lot of people.
Absolutely. We're talking jobs lost, not to mention the shoppers, right?
Yeah.
People who depend on those stores. And a big store like a Big Lots closing, that can really affect the local economy.
The CBS article actually lists some specific spots, like stores are closing in Homewood, Alabama, Lake Havasu City, Arizona. Even Philly's losing one. What happens to those empty storefronts?
That's a question a lot of towns are asking, yeah. It kind of ties into how retail is changing overall. Some folks are saying we'll see more smaller stores pop up, more specialized shops.
Makes sense. Big box stores had their day. Maybe tastes are evolving. I don't know. Now, you mentioned Chapter 11 bankruptcy. I think some people might hear that, think, that's it, lights out for Big Lots.
It's definitely a tough position to be in, but it doesn't always mean the end. Chapter 11 actually gives companies a chance to, like, reorganize their debt and see if they can make a comeback, become profitable again.
So there's still a sliver of hope.
There's a chance, yeah. They're actually going to sell the whole business
Right.
to this private equity firm, Nexus Capital Management. But that deal fell through.
Oh, wow. So now what?
Well, this is where things get interesting. Big Lots is actually getting ready for going out of business sales at all their stores.
Wait, hold on, hold on. Does that mean it's over? For sure.
Not automatically, no. It's more like a strategic move to, protect their assets. While they're trying to find another buyer, these sales, it helps them squeeze as much value as they can from their inventory. If nobody steps up to buy the company, though, then liquidation is probably what will happen.
Okay, so liquidation, break that down for me. What does that actually mean?
Sure. Liquidation is basically they sell off everything. Inventory, the stuff in the stores, even the brand name itself, all to pay off the people they owe money to. If that happens, it's pretty much curtains for Big Lots as we know it.
So for the average person, someone who shops at Big Lots, these going out of business sales, they might look like a chance to get some good deals. But it sounds like there's a way bigger story here.
Yeah, it really is a bigger story. And it's not just Big Lots either. This kind of news really shows you how much pressure retailers are under these days.
It's true. You see stores closing left and right. What is it about, like, the retail world right now that makes it so hard for these businesses to stay afloat?
Well, you got to think about how much shopping has moved online. I mean, the big e-commerce players like Amazon, they've completely changed the game, right? Lower prices, super convenient. It's really tough for the traditional stores to compete with that.
Yeah. I do most of my shopping online these days. It's just so easy.
Exactly. And then on top of that, you've got these smaller stores popping up, the niche retailers, catering to very specific things, needs and interests. They offer that kind of specialization and personalization that the big guys just can't do.
So it's almost like they're getting squeezed from both sides. The big online retailers on one end, and then the smaller specialized stores on the other.
That's a great way to put it, yeah.
Yeah.
And then, of course, you can't forget about the economy, inflation, supply chain problems, people changing their spending habits. It all adds up to a really tough situation for retailers.
It makes you wonder, is the whole department store model just like becoming outdated?
That's a valid question. I don't think physical stores are going away completely, though. I think the key for retailers, if they want to make it, is going to be adapting. They got to offer something unique, something you can't get online.
So what does that look like, What kind of innovations are we talking about?
Well, we're already seeing some cool stuff. Some stores are really focusing on the experience, making it more than just shopping. Interactive displays, personalized services, even events and workshops right there in the store.
Turning it into an event. I like that idea.
Right. It's about creating a destination, a place where people actually want to spend time, connect with each other.
What about this idea of combining online and offline shopping?
Oh, that's huge. Things like click and collect, order online, pick up in store, super popular. It's the best of both worlds, really.
It is. So as we're talking about all these changes, my mind keeps going back to those Big Lots employees, the ones losing their jobs. It's easy to focus on the business side of things, but there are real people affected by this.
Absolutely. It's a big question, right? What happens to those workers? What kind of help is there for them to find new jobs?
Yeah. I hope we can dig into that more another time. This whole deep dive into Big Lots has really made me think about my own shopping habits. Do I support local businesses enough?
Yeah.
Am I really thinking about how my purchases affect my community?
Those are good questions. We should all be asking ourselves those things.
Hmm.
As consumers, we have a lot of power. Where we shop, how we shop, it all makes a difference.
So maybe that's part of what we take away from all this. Even though we started with Big Lots, this is really about so much more. The future of retail, technology, the choices we make. It does feel like we've just scratched the surface here. So much to think about when it comes to, like, the future of retail. What are some things you think our listeners should be keeping an eye on? Like, what trends are going to shape the industry in the next few years?
Well, one thing that I find really fascinating is this idea of hyper-personalization. We're already seeing it a little bit now, right?
Yeah.
Online retailers using those algorithms to recommend stuff based on what you've bought before, what you've looked at. But I think it's going to go way beyond that.
What do you mean? Like stores that just know what you want before you even walk in?
Exactly. Imagine walking into a store and the person there, they already know your size, your style, even how much you're willing to spend. They greet you by name, and they've already picked out a bunch of stuff just for you, perfectly tailored to your needs.
That sounds like something out of a movie. But yeah, I guess technology could make that happen.
Oh, absolutely. And it's not just about convenience either. This kind of personalization can actually make shopping better, more fun, more efficient.
And for the retailers, I bet it's a way to create those loyal customers.
Exactly, yeah. Speaking of loyalty, another trend to watch is subscription services. We see it now with things like those meal kits, those clothing boxes. But I think this model could really take off in other areas of retail, too.
So instead of buying stuff one at a time, you'd be subscribing to a service. And they just send you a curated selection of things regularly.
Right. It could be a win-win, really. Consumers get that convenient stuff delivered right to their door, and the retailers, they get a steady flow of income. Plus, they get to know their customers even better.
It's interesting to think about all the possibilities, but I also wonder about the downsides. All this personalization, all this automation. Does it take away the human element of shopping? Like, will we lose that connection with the people who are selling us things?
That's a good point. It's something retailers need to keep in mind, for sure. Technology should be there to help people, not replace them. At the end of the day, people want to connect with other people. They want to feel understood.
Right, that makes sense. And it makes me think about the bigger picture, too. Like, what happens to all the jobs in retail if more and more shopping moves online? If everything becomes automated?
That's a big question, and it's something we're just starting to figure out as a society. It's going to take some real creativity, some new solutions to make sure that the people who lose their jobs because of technology have the skills and the support they need to find new careers.
This has been such a thought-provoking conversation. We started with Big Lots, but we ended up talking about some really big ideas. The future of retail, the impact it has on our lives.
It's been great diving deep with you.
Yeah.
And I hope our listeners leave today with a better understanding of what's happening in the retail world and the choices they have as consumers.
To our listeners, thank you for joining us on this deep dive. It's a story that's always changing, so keep exploring, keep asking questions, and keep those shopping carts rolling.